Hello and welcome back to the Sports Circus. And you can catch us tomorrow at AM 1340 Fox Sports Radio here in the Las Vegas Valley, or you can stream the show live at thesportscircus.com. Click the link in the center to stream the show live. It's from 6 to 7 a.m. We have a special guest tomorrow. Actually, our guest tomorrow, this is kind of fun. We're doing something a little different, doing a show for the ladies, and that show will include an AKC Blue Ribbon Championship dog handler. So, you've seen those shows on television, the American Kennel Club shows or the dog competition. Well, this is the agility trainer that has scores of blue ribbons. She's been doing it for a very long time, very, very good. And so we're going to bring her on. We're going to bring a dog handler on. It's the circus. We can do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we can. And we do everything we'll talk about everything from cannonball bowling to barefooted ice hockey. You can think it. We'll talk about it. I don't care if it's competitive eating. As long as there's competition involved, I kind of like the idea. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah.
Winner, winner. Okay, winner, pizza dinner. This segment is brought to you by Seattle Dan's Pizza, Pasta, and Grinders at 5115 West Sahara at Durango in the Smart and Final Plaza. Call in your lunch order at 702-946-6262. Mention the Sports Circus, get a 10% discount. Do the same thing with your dinner. Call in your order, get a 10% discount, 702-946-6262. Dan's a great guy. Give him a call. You'll have some fun. He's fun to talk with sports, and he's a big Seattle guy, of course, so give him a little crap about the Seahawks. So, moving on. We're going to finish talking about the McGregor-Mayweather piece because there was a response from Conor McGregor when Mayweather started calling him out and saying these guys are basically they're full of crap, whatever. Well, McGregor says, quote, in his tweet, "Call me C.J. Watson." And this was sent a while back. Nonetheless, the report on this came from, I believe it was ESPN. They had said, for those wondering, quote, "For those wondering, Watson is an NBA point guard currently playing for the Orlando Magic, who Mayweather accused of sleeping with Miss Harris, of course, which is the mother of his three children. Of course, Mayweather was later convicted of domestic abuse towards Harris in 2015 and served 2 months in prison for it. So I guess McGregor just wanted to give a little bit of poke at him. But honestly, all of this, it's much to do about nothing if they don't get in the ring. Get in the ring, grow some balls, be prepared to get hit, both of you. And I think Mayweather, be prepared to get hit really hard because you've never been hit by anybody like this guy before. And you heard it here first. I'm happy to say McGregor will, if he gets in, he will knock out. I think he will cold knock out Floyd Mayweather. Heard it here first. So, switching to the NHL. The NHL is in full swing. We've had a lot of really big streaks, big win streaks, that is. We've had some injuries, but it's been pretty exciting. The All-Star break's coming up in about a week or so. And Columbus is still in second place, even after winning 16 games in a row. They're in second place behind the Washington Capitals. So they've been playing a little bit inconsistent since the win streak. I dumped all of their players. I had 4 guys on my fantasy team, my fantasy hockey team. I dumped them because I felt as soon as they ended their 16-game win streak that they would kind of fall off a little bit, which sure enough they did. And I'm still in first place in my fantasy hockey team because of that. I got rid of, I'll tell you about it later. Just email me at info@thesportscircus.com, and I'll give you all the information of what the moves that I made in fantasy hockey. I won the last 2 years in fantasy hockey. I'm doing it again this year. So, Montreal is still cruising in the Atlantic Division. They just keep winning, playing very consistent hockey, winning and winning and winning and winning. And the Minnesota Wild in the Central have really done much the same over the last month. They had a 12-game win streak, then they lost their streak, but they've played very consistent hockey since then. They're playing very, very well. This is a team that could make a nice deep run into the playoffs. In fact, the odds have them even with the Chicago Blackhawks and the Washington Capitals to win the Stanley Cup. So Minnesota's in first place by 2 points, which is really one win over the Blackhawks, but they have 3 games in hand. So the Blackhawks have a lot of work to do. And over in the Pacific Division, Anaheim is in first place by 3 points over San Jose, who went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, but San Jose has 2 games in hand, or basically 4 points that they could leapfrog Anaheim with. Now, going back to that 2-point lead over the Chicago Blackhawks by Minnesota, the Blackhawks have been playing sort of pedestrian hockey. They're 6-6-1 in their last 13 games. They're just kind of sputtering about. They're still a great team, of course, but I think they really need to shake things up a little bit and maybe add a little bit of flavor to the Jonathan Toews line, which is, of course, being the team captain. So there have been some names thrown around. You've had some really, really good talent out there that's available right now, especially Colorado, who's just having an abysmal season. They have they have 3 guys that are available right now that could help this Blackhawks team. And the Blackhawks are buyers at the trade deadline, which, is still weeks and weeks away, but better to make a move now than fall behind in the standings and basically end up third in the league, where now you're traveling to play some of your series, which the Hawks have shown they can win on the road, but let's face it, why play on the road if you don't have to? So guys like James Van Riemsdyk, the older brother of Blackhawks defenseman Trevor Van Riemsdyk, he is available at Toronto. Gabriel Landeskog, who the Blackhawks just played a couple of days ago, and Colorado had gotten out to a big lead against the Blackhawks, ended up losing the game 6-4. I think they were winning 4-0 or 4-1. Can't remember what the score was. Doesn't matter. They ended up losing the game. Colorado did the same thing against Anaheim yesterday. They were up 1-0 late in the game. Anaheim comes back, beats Colorado 2-1. This is just a team that can't put it together. So they're going to be big sellers at the trade deadline. Look for Landeskog to go. Look for Matt Duchene to be moved as well. And I think Matt Duchene might be a really good pickup for the Blackhawks over some of the other guys. Patrick Sharp, they're talking about bringing back from Dallas, their old guy. But I think Sharp's window is kind of closing a little bit. Leave him in Dallas. He's better off there. That team's not going anywhere. And the last piece that they're talking about is the potential of Jerome Ginla. Ginla's been around for, 20 years. He's been in the league for a long time. I think he's 40 years old this year, if I'm not mistaken. He only has 7 goals, 14 assists. He's not really setting the world afire, but he's not there to set the world afire. He's there to open the game up for everybody around him. And I think if you light a fire under his ass and put him out there on a line with Toews, I think you're going to get some real productivity out of it. But is that the best move? I don't know. Out of all the people that I had mentioned, I think Matt Duchene is probably the best fit for the Blackhawks. Problem is Duchene plays the center position, and I don't know if they want to move him over to left wing, because really the hole in the Blackhawks lineup is in the left wing position. So we'll see where that goes. I'm not really sure what the Hawks have in mind there. But going back to the odds, Chicago, Columbus, and Minnesota are all, it wasn't Washington, it's Columbus. Columbus, right? They're all 7-1 to win the Stanley Cup. And of course, Columbus and Minnesota eventually will drop down to maybe the 5th or 6th position, because right behind them is Washington. Actually, Washington also is at 7-1. I stand corrected. The Montreal Canadiens are 17-2, which is basically 8.5-1. As I said before, they just keep winning games. And even despite their injuries, this is a team that knows how to win. Look for them to go deep in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. And of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins are also at 17-2 or 8.5-1. The Penguins have a problem with their goaltending. Despite the fact they won the Stanley Cup last year, I do believe that the Pittsburgh Penguins are not going to go deep into the playoffs this year, because let's face it, if you're not getting penetration from Malkin up front, Sid Crosby up front, and Phil Kessel up front, all the pressure is put on the defense, and their defense is very lackluster. You've got one guy that's really a good defenseman. Problem is, he's an offensive defenseman. That would be Chris Letang. So this is a team that really isn't that good defensively, and let's face it, once that puck crosses their side of the checkered red, now you've got a game where Pittsburgh is reeling, and all the other team needs to do is set up on their offensive zone and start peppering Fleury. And guess what? Pittsburgh doesn't win games that way. Pittsburgh's in big trouble as soon as the puck crosses their side of the checkered red. So look for Pittsburgh to make an earlier exit in the playoffs, but we'll see that come April and May when the hockey playoffs really start getting into swing. Until then, they're just jockeying for position 1 through 8 to see who's going to end up playing who. And I do like the fact in hockey that they do reposition, but what I don't like is the fact that the way the divisions are set up, the teams that basically they'll beat each other up. In the Central, we'll see Chicago having to play St. Louis, or a terrible matchup like that, which should be left for down the road, maybe a conference final. So when they realigned the playoff structure, I think they hurt the game more than they helped the game. And a lot of people have been complaining, guys like Brad in Chicago, people like Tom in Anaheim, and Marshall over in New York. These are people that have been complaining left and right about the hockey setup. And frankly, I don't blame you. And even Tommy over in Detroit's been saying the same thing. There's a team that's made the playoffs the last 25 years. Why? Because, well, let's face it, they've had great coaching and they've had a great system. They've gone out and they've drafted well, but no more love for the Detroit Red Wings because I don't like them. I'm a Blackhawks fan. So, anyway, we're going to go to break in just a minute here, and we'll end up finishing talking about the NFL. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to talk about some of the ongoing, some news. There's some really fun news. And remember, this segment was brought to you by Seattle Dan's Pizza, Pasta, and Grinder. Make sure you get in touch with them. Great food, great people. See you in a minute.